And have your pelvis nice and even. I'll take my glasses off. And I'm going to experiment tonight with a class I've never done before. This guy's he's a Californian yin teacher, pretty famous around the world. And I looked at his sequence, and he's got some things in the sequence that I would never have thought of adding. So we'll see how it goes tonight and how you like it. I'd love to get some feedback from you in terms of how it is. What do I need here? Just any notes. All right. You can all hear me okay? Thumbs up. Here's Sue. Hi, Sue. Sue's just connecting to audio. And she's on mute. You're on mute, Sue. Is that okay? You can hear me okay?
Yeah, I just, once again, I failed to do this on my laptop for some reason, so I last minute joined on my phone. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's great to have you. Great to have you.
Okay.
I'm good.
I'll
just get you to mute yourself if you can. Do you know how to do that?
If I put my glasses back on.
Yeah, I'll mute you for you. Just stay there. I'll mute you. Everybody else is going to be closing their eyes and coming into. There you go. You're muted. Close the eyes. Come into a good upright posture where you feel comfortable and relaxed. Relax the shoulders a little more. Let the elbows droop down beside the ribs, palms face up, resting against the thighs. And start to deepen each new breath until you feel a steady flow in and out. Breathe in through the nose. And if at any time you feel you'd like to release a little more tension, take a longer exhale through pursed lips. Each time you exhale, focus on the shoulder blades softening, elbows dripping beside the ribs, hands becoming limp. Just notice the sounds in your own environment. Some sounds might be louder, some might be quieter. And see if you can notice those sounds from a place that's neutral, where every sound is equal. Until you can hear the sound of your own breathing. And in tonight's practice, like I said, we'll be doing some things that I haven't done before that may surprise you. They surprised me. And we'll start in child's pose. So come forward. You can have padding under the knees. Knees wide, head comes down. Let the head rest on the mat or a block or stacked fists. Widen the thighs a little bit and start to feel for this first time a little stretch through the knees, the quadriceps, the low back, and the back of the neck. Let the back of the neck go. If possible, let the tops of the feet rest against the mat or the blanket so you feel a stretch sensation through the ankles, the toes, the shins. Relax the shoulders a little more. Slow the breath down. And feel the whole body-mind starting to slow down, preparing you for the night ahead. Preparing you for a relaxing evening. And if there's work to do, allowing this practice to clear the mind. Create space for whatever you need to do. And then gently come up, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. And something I've never done in a yin class ever before tonight, which most of you will already know about, is downward facing dog. We're only going to be here for about 5-6 breaths, but it's just to stretch out the back of the legs. Curl the toes. Keep the knees bent, straighten the arms, rotate elbows forward like you're squeezing $100 bills under the armpits. Lift the knees up and keeping the knees bent, press through the hands so that you feel the weight evenly distributed through the hands, through the arms, shoulder blades apart. Slowly press the heels back until you feel a stretch sensation in the hamstrings and the calf muscles. For 2 more breaths. Exhale, come down and step the right foot forward. Coming and preparing for dragon pose, which I know you all are familiar with. 3 minutes each side. Curl the toes of the left foot, walk the left knee back a little bit, drop the top of the foot, and just look at the angle I've created with my hips and leg. And just notice what angle is appropriate for you tonight. The blocks can be up on that tall setting. They can be down on their lower setting or lowest. Start with a few micro movements. If you prefer to have your hands up on the thigh, you can have your hands up on the thigh. So all little experiments to find out what's working for that back hamstring today. And I've been doing a little bit of research into osteopenia and osteoporosis. And there's a lot of studies that argue that yoga, and the type of yoga we do in particular, is very, very good for slowing down those processes, in some cases reversing. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the forward folds later. So feel that left leg. If you'd like to come down a little lower, you can. If you want to stay up high, you can. Just feeling what's appropriate. Slowing the breath down. Three more breaths. Now, from here, walk the hands back and take that right foot and bring it underneath the left hip. So most of you will recognize this as the beginning part of swan pose in yoga or pigeon pose. Curl the toes of the left foot. Now walk the left knee back and notice how the hips drop a little lower. Curl the toes and drop that back foot down. Take a block. If you feel a big space under the right thigh, take a block and put it under the right thigh to support you. So you can sit into the block, keeping the hips nice and square. Slowly allow the body to melt forward using the elbows to support you. Head relaxes. If possible, allow the rib cage to drape further forward. So this could take the full 3 minutes that we're here, allowing the head to come down onto your block. So you're either propped up, hands underneath, elbows underneath, or right down, rib cage draped over that front leg, head supported by the block. So the person who wrote this book says it's his favorite sequence because it evenly stretches the hips, the spine, and maintains healthy knees. One more minute here. Notice if there's any chance to soften a little more, allowing yourself to sink deeper into the pose. Three more breaths. Now, as you come up, lift the head first and bring the hands under the shoulders and just roll onto the right thigh a little bit. So you're rolling onto that right upper thigh, right cheekbone, and then bring the left leg forward. Extend the right leg and just take a moment to allow that right leg to extend out. If you have a belt or a strap handy, it might be a good idea, but it's not essential. It's not essential. Keeping the left leg extended out, toes curled back, take that right knee and bring it over the left knee as best as you can. This will be easier if you sit on a block. So if you elevate the sit bones and do it, you'll feel that forward tilt in the pelvis. So block makes it easier. Sitting straight down on the ground a little more challenging. Start to feel the hamstring. Grab hold of that front knee for leverage. Pull back on it and sit up nice and tall. And hinge forward. Now notice if you look on the screen, you see my back's nice and flat. So I'm not rounding like this. So in the conditions of osteopenia and osteoporosis, you never want to round the back like this. You want to hinge forward. You want to feel that forward fold rather than forward bend. So with that nice straight back, You can walk the hands down the legs or grab a strap and simply hold on to the strap. Yeah, a towel's good, like that. Good idea. So either way, either using the knee, hinge forward, use the strap, hinge forward, keeping the chin away from the chest. Nice straight back. Now we're going to be here for one more minute. See if you can push down with the sit bones and lift up the rib cage away from the hips so you create a space in the belly. Almost like you're trying to pull the navel in and then gently hinge a little further forward. Those toes curl back towards the shin. So the calf muscle also getting a deep stretch here. Releasing the low back. And you'll notice that we're working on one side of the body more than the other right now. So that's also different in the way I normally sequence our yin class. Come back to the breath and just be with the sensations for another 3 breaths. And then slowly come back. Slowly come back. Extend the right leg out. And just tap the legs. Now, Sue wasn't here at the beginning, but what I'd like you to do is if you have a dining room chair handy, I'd like you to grab it now and simply set it up at the back end of the mat so the legs stick up into the air and the backrest of the chair leans against the ground. And I'm going to put a blanket over that. You don't need a blanket, but if you have one, it makes it easier. Now, this pose, again, easier if you have 2 blocks to start with. Or a cushion, something to sit up a little taller. Extend the right leg out. Left leg remains behind in half hero pose. For some of you, 1 block will be sufficient. You could drop that block a little lower. For some of you, you might even find you could come all the way back onto the ground. I personally can't quite get there yet. So I'm going to continue with 1 block. Now, start to lean back towards the chair until you can find a position where you can lean against the chair. Now, if the chair is too far back for you, take a cushion and put it back there to support you. This is going to be a deep quadriceps stretch, a big stretch in the knees. So 1 or 2 blocks, chair lean back, option to use something a little thicker on the chair. Now remember, it's important to be in the pain-free range of motion. So you might be up here using the hands to support you. Over time, you might start to creep back a little further as the hands widen out from the body. So we're all in different positions. Tune in for a moment to make sure the position you're in is appropriate. And where possible, just keep the chin a little way away from the chest so you're not stretching the back of the neck. You've got almost an even cervical spine. That's it. Good. Now, over time, you might find you go a little deeper. I'm going to try bringing the block a little closer to the chair. Now, some people will find over time that they can remove the chair altogether. But that's a very big stretch on the ankle, on the knee, on the quadricep. So listen to your body. And notice if you can come back to the breath. If it gets too intense, come up a little bit. Three more breaths. Exhale, slowly come back up. Gently straighten that bent knee leg. Oh, yeah. Hello. And let it come on out. Shake it out. So we have one more pose on this side before we release this side and move to the other side. Again, you can be on your sit bones, or you can sit on a block or a bolster so that your sit bones are slightly elevated. That's what I'm going to do. And it's a simple cross-legged position. Now I say simple, left foot is on right knee, right foot is underneath left knee. And the goal here, again, you can use the chair if you like, although it's going to be awkward to grab it now. But what the heck, we might as well play with the props. We've got them here. So I'm simply going to bring the chair around in front of me. Cross-legged position. We call this fire log pose. So you're trying to stack one shin on top of the other. There's your firewood. Now the chair's in front of you. It doesn't really matter how it's configured. We're just going to use it to lean forward and to support ourselves. Now you could have your hands on the ground as well. Sit down through the sit bones, lift the hips, hinge at the waist, and see if you can lean a little further forward, either bringing the hands out on the ground or onto the chair. Once again, you'll feel the left hip is really getting a lot of attention so far during our practice. Now, if you're up here, don't worry. If you're up here, don't worry. You're just trying to hinge forward slowly over time, noticing over time, is it possible to hinge forward? Now, once again, look at my back and notice that I'm not rounding. So I'm not trying to get the head down. I'm trying to keep the head straight and create a hinge. So I'd rather be up here than rounding like this. So no rounding the back. And in the world of osteoporosis and osteopenia, the last thing you want to do is round the back in a forward bend. You want to have this forward hinge, nice straight back. and feel the sensations. Hands, once again, can be on the floor or the chair. Let the breath slow down. Close the eyes. Almost finished this side, just starting to feel how much depth we've gone into that left hip, left leg. Three more breaths. Now on that third breath, let the hands and the arms pick you up, not the back. Walk the hands back, uncross the legs, and just allow the legs to straighten out for a moment. Lean back into the hands, and windshield wiper those feet from side to side. We ready to do the other side? All right, let's do the other side. So keep your chair handy. I'm just going to move it out of the way for now. Come onto all fours. And bring the knees together, hands underneath the shoulders. And start to create a circle with the hips. So we're just releasing, and take a moment to notice if your left hip, your left leg, feels different from the right leg. Pause, reverse the circle. And then bring hands under shoulders, knees under hips, curl the toes just for 5 breaths. Downward facing dog. Straighten the arms, rotate elbows forward, spread the weight evenly through the hands, lift the knees, keep the knees bent. Now straighten the arms, let the shoulder blades wrap towards the chest, push the hips back, and then slowly press the heels back. And once again notice, does your left leg feel different from the right leg? Reach the head towards the hands for 2 more breaths. Exhale, slowly come down. And this time bring the left foot forward. Blocks at the top of the mat. Preparing for dragon pose on this side of the body. Find your Goldilocks spot. Walk that back knee back and then drop the toes of that back foot. You can rest your hands up against the thigh if that feels good. You can have your hands down on the blocks. Find a position where you feel sensation in that right hip flexor, that right front groin area, that right hip crease. Left leg should be feeling kind of open after all that work on one side. So you can see this is a very different sequencing than what I'm used to. I'm very curious at the end of class if some of you could give me some feedback about your experience. Slow the breath down. Remember the options. You can come lower if that's appropriate. Hands on knees, hands on blocks. Let the head relax. Letting all the sounds in the background become equal until you can hear the sound of your own breath. Three more breaths. And we're going to transition straight into the next pose. So come up slowly. Let the hands lift you up. Now, bringing that left foot, it's going to come underneath you, preparing for pigeon pose. Left foot is under the right hip. The left shin is on the ground. Now slide that right knee back further and further until you start to feel the appropriate sensations in your knee or your hip. Take one block and prop up that elevated left thigh, preparing for swan pose on this side. Now hands can hold you up, or you can start to come down onto the elbows, or bring the head down onto a block or all the way to the mat. If for any reason this is just too much for you, I want you to come onto your back and pull the foot in towards your chest, using your arm strength to create the stretch. So you come into a supine version of swan pose. So just determining what's right for you. If over time that block is too high for you, you can remove the block. And then start to relax into stillness. See if you can equate relaxation and stillness. When we relax, we create a density. It's like trying to pick up something that's so soft and relaxed, it's awkward and heavy. But when it's rigid, it's light. See if you can create this density of softness in the body, feeling the hips sink down either onto the block or the mat. Two more breaths. And then allowing the hands and the arms to walk back and lift you up, not the back. Bring the hands back under the shoulders and bring both legs out in front of you. Lean back into the hands and simply tap out the back of the legs. Now, once again, the options here, if you have a strap, so once again, finding that half shoelace pose, using the knee to hinge you forward. And as you hinge forward, look at that back again. Avoid that temptation to round or drop the chin, but just hinging forward. Drive out through the right heel, toes curled back. Now you can take a tie around the foot and use the hands to anchor you in that position. Toes curled back. There's a lot of sensation in the midst of this pose. Remember, it's far more acceptable to be back here with a straight spine than it is to be forward with a rounded back. Bringing the toes back and driving out through the right heel is going to really bring you into the back of that calf muscle. Slow the breath down. Five more breaths. Can you bring those toes back a little more? And then slowly release. Slowly release. Now once again, setting up your chair behind you. I'm going to turn my chair this way this time, simply because it's easier. So we're preparing for half hero pose, which is a great way to prepare for saddle pose. Options, 2 blocks, easiest. If I'm on 2 blocks, I can extend the left leg, bend the right knee back. So here's the stretch on the foot, on the ankle, on the shin, and on the quadricep. Obviously, as I come back and lean back, that's going to accentuate the stretch. 1 block adds more intensity. So you're discovering what's right for you. No blocks, more intensity again. Leaning back. If it's comfortable, you might find that the chair behind you will be exactly the right angle to be able to come back and open that quadricep and hip flexor even more. Now, quite frankly, on this side, I could go lower than the chair. So I'm going to experiment, just like you're experimenting. I'm going to make myself a little bolster set up. Much better. So you might find one side of the body is very different to the other side. And whatever intensity level you're at, make sure it's an intensity level where you can come back to the 3 meditations of Yin Yoga. Relax into stillness. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . slowing the breath down. And I got so absorbed into those two meditations, I forgot the third meditation. Mainly to be comfortable with sensation. Three more breaths. Remember, it's very important to come out slowly and gently, using the arms and hands to lift you up, not the back. Drop the chin to the chest, elbows underneath, hands underneath, and slowly walk you back, extending that right leg out and just allowing it to slowly tap. All right. Now again, you can stay on your sit bones. I'm going to try my sit bones this time, or you can come up onto a bolster or blanket. You can have the chair in front of you if you would like. Fire log. This time you're going to have left knee underneath, right knee on top. Stack your logs, shin over shin. Walk the hands forward to the ground or to the chair. Start to hinge forward. And if you're holding the chair, bend the elbows a little more to give you that forward hinge. Keep the back nice and straight. Let me turn sideways. So once again, you see the back remains nice and straight rather than rounded, chin lifted. Hands come out. Push through the sit bones. And once again, while this is intense in the moment, tomorrow you should notice a big difference in the hip, the thigh, and the leg. So hands on the chair would look like this, or like this, or like that. Push back through the sit bones. You might even feel, if you get to a certain level of forward momentum, you might even feel the belly pressing against the ankles or the calves. And see if you can use that feedback, belly against calves, to strengthen the breath. Push the belly into the calf on the inhale. Exhale, lengthen a little more. 3 more breaths. Now remember, on the third breath, let the hands and the arms walk you back, and gently uncross the legs. Stand the feet on the mat, knees bent, lean back into the hands, and gently sway the knees left and right, windshield wiper. And we can still use the chair. I can't believe how much the chair's come in handy tonight. So the chair is just set up. I'm going to approach the chair on a block or a blanket or a bolster. So I'm elevated a little bit, this time spreading the legs out into a big wide V for dragonfly. See, I'm going to use the chair here to support me. So hips are elevated. That gives me forward tilt in the pelvis. Hands are grabbing the legs. You probably can't even see the chair there. So there it is. I'll drag it back into view. And straddle the feet nice and wide. Feet perpendicular. So it's a big adductor stretch. It's the one area of the body we haven't really gotten into yet. Again, think about that back. Look at my back. I'm trying to keep it nice and straight. So I'm not kind of rounding like this. My shoulders are back. I'm pulling the chair into my thighs so that I can use the chair as a leverage to pull against and hinge me forward until I find the appropriate stretch sensation inside the thighs. The more I push out through the feet and curl the toes back, the more I hold that edge, not allowing myself to collapse into that edge or go beyond it, I should say. So once again, exploring that range of motion that's just right. Three more breaths. Now use the hands, once again, slide the hands down the chair or walk them back towards you so you come into a vertical position. Gently pick the knee hinges up. And, well, I'm going to try the chair one more time perhaps, I don't know. All right. So last forward fold, and then we're going to come into a little rotation. Extend both legs out, push out through the heels. Strap is always handy here, or you can always grab under the back of the thighs, doesn't matter which. Again, on the theme of taking care of the spine, if you ever have osteopenia or osteoporosis, keep that back nice and level. So we're not trying to round forward, we're trying to keep that back nice and level. Toes curled back. And again, you might be back here, so that's all right. I'd rather see that straight back, straight legs, toes curled back until you feel that sensation in the back of the hamstrings and the calf muscles. We won't be here that long. Three more breaths. And then slowly release. Slowly release. Come down onto the back, grab a block. Have the knees bent. Lift the hips up and bring the block underneath you at a level that feels right for supported bridge pose. So after that forward hinge, either level 1, like a shoebox, or level 2, a shoebox on its side. Just find that height that helps counterbalance that last hinge forward. We'll be here for 5 breaths. Inhale, lift up, remove the block, bring the hands out 90 degrees, sway the legs from side to side. When the knees come over to the left, pause, turn the head to the right. Three more breaths. Inhale the head to neutral, knees to neutral. Adjust the hips, and then sway the knees over to the right side. Palms remain perpendicular to the shoulders. Turn the head to the left. Relax the shoulder blades. Two more breaths. Inhale the head to neutral. Knees to neutral. Keep the arms extended. And then extend the legs into a big wide X. Pentacle pose. If you feel like you'd need more support under the knees, bring cushions or blocks under the knees. Bring your attention back to the sounds in the room. The sounds outside your room. Let all the sounds be equal until you notice the sound of your breath. Inhale, bend the knees and gently roll onto one side. Curl up into a little ball. Gently press up. Keep your gaze hazy, soft, and come into a comfortable seat. And just notice where your practice has brought you tonight. Perhaps ready to take a leisurely journey towards bed, or if you have work to do, maybe it's open to space in the mind and the body to be focused and relaxed. Let your hands come together in prayer position at the chest. Let the head bow in gratitude for each breath we take. Namaste. Thank you, folks. I'm going to come over and unmute you.